Hi, Steve and Caleb with Brownells, and today's quick tip is about old guns and new ammunition.
Yep, Steve. So today it's all about choosing modern ammunition for a vintage firearm.
Right,
And there's really not a whole lot to it, honestly. Most modern ammo works okay in most vintage firearms,
right,
but there are some things you need to be aware of. And we have this M1 Garand sitting in front of us right here because this is a perfect example of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Most modern ammo is not okay to shoot in an M1 Garand.
Some of the high performance stuff has a slower burning powder. It's got a different pressure curve, and it'll bend the op rod on a Garand a lot of times.
Yeah, so SAMI spec for 30-06 is somewhere around 60,000 psi. M1 Garand op rod will take up to about 50,000. So you see the issue there. But with that being said, there are companies like this American Eagle here. They make 30-06 specifically for the M1 Garand. You can see written on the box for M1 Garand.
Yeah,
And they're not the only company that does this. There's a few of them out there.
right.
So that's technically a modern ammo that will work in your M1 Garand.
Yeah. Another thing is if you have an old 22 automatic pistol, the old high standards or the Hartford pistols or the early Huntsmans, you don't want to be shooting stingers in those things. You want to be shooting standard velocity or target stuff. Those guns just weren't made for that. The recoil spring wasn't set up for it, and the metal is soft.
Yeah, and that's a really good one. Also, 32 Smith & Wesson long.
Right?
If you read on the forums and stuff, you can see people complaining that the factory ammo's way downloaded than what can actually be loaded into a 32 Smith & Wesson long.
True.
But that's done for a reason. That's so you can shoot that ammo in most vintage firearms without blowing them up.
Well, the same is true for 32 Magnum. You know, that's loaded down for all the H&R revolvers. H&R originated the cartridge, but they're not as strong as, say, a Ruger or a Smith & Wesson in the same chambering. So it's loaded down intentionally, and if you go online, you can find all kinds of recipes to put in your Ruger single six that'll outperform that by quite a bit. Just don't stick it into an H&R.
Yeah, so there you have it. There's another really good example of that. And this is more of just kind of like a public service announcement, is to just know what you have and know what you're buying, know what you're feeding it, and you'll be good to go.
Exactly. One last example, 3220 revolvers. Smith & Wesson didn't start heat treating their cylinders until I think 83,000 serial number mark. So if you've got one before that, don't be putting that hot stuff in there. Just put the cowboy loads through it and you'll be fine, or reload with Trail Boss, something like that. Keep the pressures down low. Your velocity should be around 900 feet a second for those old guns. Once you get past that point, you can go a little hotter.
Yeah, and one more thing I forgot to mention, Steve, on your M1 Garands, you can get a gas plug in the front that'll vent excess gas, and that can be tuned to shoot hotter, more modern ammo to it as well.
Right.
So you can shoot anything you want in your M1 Garand at that point if you tune that adjustable gas plug. And there's a few different companies out there that sell it, but they take a little bit more finesse to get running, and they don't work with the widest variety of ammunition without tuning it. So if that's something you're interested in, or if you just don't feel like hunting around all day for M1 Garand specific stuff, you can get one of those gas plugs and tune it up.
Right. And don't forget, some of those inexpensive imported guns from way back when, made out of God knows what kind of metal.
Oh, Lord.
They were meant to be carried a lot and shot very little, if at all. So be careful if it was made in Belgium, Spain, whatever, and it's an old nickel-plated purse gun or something, you know?
Yeah, you got, Gaddafi's high power or something.
You know, every gunsmith shop has a box full of those that aren't safe to shoot.
Yeah, oh yeah, we've seen plenty of them. There was a place a while back, man, and we're gonna wrap it up here soon. Okay, this just popped in my mind. I was in Gatlinburg, and they have that big knife store there, and there was a ton of old Martini actions just sitting in a barrel.
Oh yeah.
And they were in pretty rough shape.
Yep.
They weren't the type of action I would just purchase and start throwing whatever into. They were they definitely needed a little help. So if you were one of the people that bought those, This is for you. This video is for you. But no, in all seriousness, just, yeah, like we said before, just know what you got and know what you're feeding it.
So there you have it. If you got an old gun, be careful what you feed it. And if you have any questions about that, you can always call us on the tech line. In the meantime, leave us a comment. Tell us if you've got any experience with this type of thing. And with all that said, we'll see you next time.